What can you say after your researches? Is smoking cannabis therapeutic?
Yeah, it's tough for me. I mean, as a physician, I don't approve of people smoking anything in general, but with cannabis, my thinking has evolved over time because I realize now that as much as I don't enjoy smoking, I don't like being around smokers, I admit that it is a very legitimate delivery method, and it is in many cases the best way to deliver the cannabinoids and terpenes that are in the flower. All of our studies at Scottsdale Research Institute are focused on smoked and vaporized flower. As I told you, we only focus on flower because we believe that's the best medicine. But it's very, I'm very conflicted about promoting smoking because I realize as we're administering smoked cannabis flower in the lab that people are getting a lot of bronchial irritation and the coughing, and to me this doesn't look like medicine either. But when I see the results afterwards, I realize patients, their pain is starting to melt away and their mood is improving and all these things are happening, and I said, okay, there's something here. And I just wish that there was a way we could minimize the irritation in the larynx and and so I'm trying to find ways that people can still smoke. They can do the combustion of the plant and get all that unique efficacy from the smoking, but not have all the side effects that come with it. But I also acknowledge that part of the problem is that we are studying cannabis from our federal government, which is full of extraneous plant material. So there's a lot of stems, sticks, leaves, not just the flowering tops of the plant, but all this other extra stuff that is possibly making it more harsh, so it's probably not a representation of what people are doing in the real world.
This is how they standardize the cannabis. They take different strains and they blend them into this powder. And this is what we're forced to work with. So this is the only federally legal supply of marijuana for any of these controlled trials. The first round of lab testing showed excessively high levels of mold, of fungus in all of the batches that we received, and then and excessively high levels of lead as well.
And so I wonder how things might be different if I was just studying the flowering top of the plant and not all this other stuff. But in the meantime, I'm going to just try to seek out other devices to make it more tolerable for patients. But in the end, I look at the data on the reason that physicians or medical community is so opposed to smoking is because we believe all smoking, all combustion will lead people into cancers. And the truth is that after 3 or 4 decades of safety studies from our government, we've never been able to prove that smoking cannabis leads to any type of cancer, not lung cancer, not other primary tumors, and not even emphysema.
It was believed that cannabis is addictive, can cause schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, etc. And now we are discovering that all these conditions may be treated with cannabis.
That's an interesting point, right? Schizophrenia, we know that there have been some very reliable controlled trials showing that like CBD has been a reliable treatment for schizophrenia, for treating the positive symptoms of schizophrenia. That cannabis, the idea that cannabis has anti-cancer properties is now well documented. So yeah, it's the opposite, but it's still tough because there are a percentage of patients, even though it's small, but that do develop psychosis and do develop panic attacks and anxiety on certain varieties of cannabis. So that's why it's gotten this reputation, because of that small percentage of patients that do react badly to it. But again, that same patient that reacts poorly to one strain may try another variety, another phenotype, and do and have a good response. So that's the challenge here, is trying to help patients find that best fit. That's part of why we choose smoking and vaporizing for our studies, because the good thing is if somebody does become paranoid or hallucinating on especially on varieties that are very high in THC, it dissipates quickly. Like you say, it goes away so fast. So they may have it for 5-10 minutes and then it starts to disappear. So that's the good thing. And then all the patient does is, that's why we have them smoke for the first time in our laboratory, so that they can experience this, especially if they're new users. We want them to experience what their limits are, and then they can kind of fine tune that. They can adjust the dose to figure out exactly what they need.